Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the K-Bar Becker folder, or the K-Bar Becker BK40, depending on where you look on the box. It just says Becker folder. On some sites it says Becker BK40. Either way, it is the folding version of the pretty ubiquitous and well-respected K-Bar Becker Fixed Blade, designed by Ethan Becker. It very much emulates the shape and overall look of that knife, which I think is pretty good. I think it's a very good looking knife. I actually bought this based on looks alone. A group that I'm in with a bunch of other YouTubers, somebody pointed it out and said, "Hey, this looks pretty cool," and I snapped it up. I just went and bought one to go check it out. I do have an affection for K-Bar, not only because of their military connection with the USMC knives and stuff, all the fighting knives, kind of when you think military survival knife, what the image that pops in here is probably a K-Bar. They're also now involved with Spartan Blades, which I think is really cool. And they are from a local town, Olean, New York. And I can say, being from here, I assure you, it is pronounced Olean, not Olean. It's about an hour and a bit from here. When I grew up, it was the nearest mall. It ain't much of a mall anymore, but it's still a lovely little town, and it's cool that they're still based out there. Now, this knife is not made there. This one is produced in China, so there's that. But it's a pretty cool knife. For $40, you're getting Aus 8 steel. It's not mind-blowing at $40, but acceptable at $40, we'll say. Very nice grivery handles, or FRN, whatever word you want to use. Fancy plastic, but still very well done. Very contoured, and it does just have kind of a chunky sort of feel to it. Kind of feels like a fixed blade, and it is based on that. Just in ergonomics, it just feels kind of like a fixed blade, which is a good thing, as you'll see as we go on. Wire pocket clip, 4-way, tip up, tip down, adjustable, and nice back spacer. Very generous lanyard hole if you're into that. But it is just a thumb stud deployment, no flipper, running on phosphor bronze washers. So let's do some specs and some size comparisons before we get too much farther. You have a blade length of 3.5 inches, overall length of 8.5 inches, blade thickness 0.14 inches, handle thickness pretty thick at this thickest point, 0.68 inches, but as I was saying, that's a bit deceptive because it is very, very contoured, and a weight of 5.41 ounces, so not a lightweight either. Now let's do some size comparisons. We'll bring out our usuals. We have our usual Spyderco's here. We'll bring out the Spyderco Para 3 and the PM2. It is even just a little bit bigger than the PM2. It's a good size NAF, absolutely, for sure. And we'll bring out our usual Benchmades. We have the 940 and the full-size bug out. And I'm going to bring out the Ontarios in this one because this does kind of remind me in a lot of ways, just in execution, I guess, of the Rat Model 1. We'll start with the Rat Model 2, the smaller one, and the aforementioned Rat Model 1. Yeah, you can see it's almost the same size as a Rat Model 1, almost exactly. Obviously, this is a chunkier knife, but in length and stuff, pretty similar to the Model 1. And again, just in execution, it just kind of reminds me of that in a lot of ways. But one more we're going to bring out, because this is a K-Bar that I just don't get to mention in videos as much as I would like. It's one of my favorite cheap knives. I own several of these. I don't know where most of them are. They just wind up in junk drawers and stuff. But the K-Bar Dozier, I like this one with the hole in the blade, the arachnid-esque hole, I guess you'd call it, deployment hole. But most of them are thumb stud. But this is the K-Bar Dozier. They're like $20, and they wind up floating all over around my house. This one is Taiwan. I was kind of expecting this to be made in Taiwan, just because the Doziers are, but alas, it is not. Now, talk about this knife and its individual properties. This blade, again, the Aus 8, not mind-blowingly awesome, but I do like the blade a lot. The shape and everything, it's just a very no-nonsense, drop pointy, slightly clip pointy kind of blade. Very simple edge profile. It's going to be great for all kinds of stuff. It is very, very, very faithful to the fixed blade. And I like the steel thickness choice on the 0.14. You don't see that a lot. It seems like people just skip from like 0.12 up to like 0.15, 16. I think this is going to be a good kind of all around, slightly heavier duty use kind of blade thickness. It's 23 thousandths behind the edge, which I don't think is too bad for a blade stock this thick. It is very sharp. The grinds were even out of the box. Again, I don't know how well that ossate's going to hold up, but ossate is super easy to put a new edge on, and it is pretty tough as far as chipping and stuff like that. So again, it's not a bad choice. It's just, I think maybe in a knife like this, I know I complain about D2 all the time because I see too much of it, but this one might have been one that I'd have been all right with D2 on it. But yeah, really good blade. It's going to be good for, I think, the kind of things this is intended for. Same can be said for the ergonomics. The ergonomics are just out freaking standing. Like I said, they did a pretty good job of following the fixed blade handle, which makes it pretty thick, which we'll talk about when we get to the carry. It's not as bad as you think, but still very thick handle, and it makes the knife pretty heavy. I think that's why you have that 5.41 ounces. I think a lot of it is just extra FRN, and also the liners are not drilled out, but ergonomically it works extremely well. Tip up or tip down, I know because it came tip down, so I held it a little bit like that, but I would obviously carry it tip up, but you got that nice little bit of jimping up there, which is it's not like super deep, but it's pretty aggressive feeling. It's going to hold you in pretty good. No hot spot from the clip whatsoever. Just really nice. The only complaint I can have is maybe I feel that lock bar a little bit if you're really clamping down on it, but not enough to really bother me. Really good ergos on this thing. Outstanding ergos. As far as the carry goes that I alluded to earlier, bring out EO Levi's as I just knocked something off of there that was sitting on top of EO Levi's. It was a roll of tape, if you were curious. Great pocket clip, slides in and out of the pocket really well. It's fairly deep carry, but I think on a knife like this, it's intended for people to be wearing gloves and stuff, so it's nice to have a little bit at least to grab a hold of. Maybe they could have even given you a little bit more. I never say that, I know, but maybe it didn't need to be quite this deep carry for a knife like this. It is very thick in the pocket for sure. When you sit down and stuff, you feel that's you got a knife in your pocket. But as far as like just getting your hand past it and stuff, it's fine. It feels a lot smaller as far as that goes. But when you sit down, you notice that. You notice that thickness. It's you can't completely hide it, but I think they do a pretty good job of hiding. And again, it does pretty well as far as ergonomics go, so not the end of the world. As far as the deployment goes, thumb studs are very well placed. It does just flick right out when your thumb doesn't slip off from it because you're being an idiot and you're under a camera. It does not drop shutty, like, at all. It's, if you want, I mess with this a little bit, and if you want the blade centered, it's never going to be drop shutty. It's on washers. You don't expect it to be anyway, but it's smooth. I'll give it that. It has a very smooth feel. It's just, even like the rats, you can at least shake it closed. That's kind of just, what I compare it to again. But you can at least do that, where I don't think that's ever going to happen on this. Even if I took it apart and lubed it and stuff, but I didn't like polish the washers or anything, because I felt like even if I did that, I don't think it was going to make a dramatic difference. And maybe when they break in, they'll obviously get a little bit better. But so the action is, it's all right. It's not fantastic. But it does pop out pretty well. It doesn't make that satisfying sound, like the rat does, and lockup is excellent for a liner lock. Yeah, overall, $40, it's a more interesting choice than some of your just usual sea of Chinese stuff. Yes, I know this is made in China, but it's K-bar. It's an more interesting choice, and that's kind of why I gravitated towards it. Just like I feel the Ontario Rat is a more interesting choice, even though they are pretty ubiquitous now. Did I use the word ubiquitous twice in one review? I think I did. I am pretentious, but another big word. Just put myself in a hole. But anyway, I do think the K-bar is a more interesting choice than some of those, if that means anything to you. And I think if you lean more towards the harder, get stuff done kind of, actual working man, not a person who lives 46 years with these hands, you might appreciate this a lot. I think it's a more interesting choice, and I love K-Bar as a company because I'm a homer, and they're right down the road. But really cool. Go check one of these out. I don't know if you're going to see many other people do reviews of it. Maybe you will now after this, but really cool knife. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.